The grand chamber of Zenith Prime's station hung in the darkness between stars like a jewel of crystal and light. Inside its vast halls, 3 ancient species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, bringing peace and order to countless worlds. Ambassador Lyran stood at the head of the table. His body was made of living crystal that caught the light and threw it in 1,000 directions. He was old, even by the standards of his people, and he had seen many strange things in his long life. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. "The signals are getting stronger," he said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Something is coming from the third planet in System 7743. They call it Earth." Beside him, Velis of the Vent shifted nervously. She was not one being but many, 1,000 small creatures that moved and thought as one. When she spoke, all 1,000 voices hummed together in perfect harmony. "Should we be afraid? We have welcomed 700 new species into the galaxy. This should be no different." But Elder Quinn was not so sure. He had no solid body at all, just a shimmer of energy that floated above his seat like morning mist. "There is something wrong about their ships," he whispered. "Our sensors detect tears in space itself. They are traveling in ways that should not be possible." Before anyone could respond, every alarm in the station began to scream. The lights flickered. The air itself seemed to ripple and twist. And then, with a sound like reality being torn like paper, a ship appeared just outside the station. It was not beautiful like the vessels of the Council races. It was made of dark metal and composite materials, covered in strange markings and numbers. Smoke drifted from its engines. But it had crossed 40 light-years of space in a way that made the station's ancient computers cry out in warning. "Open communications," Lyran commanded, trying to keep his voice steady. The view screen flickered to life, and the 3 ambassadors saw humans for the first time. The being on the screen stood on 2 legs and had 2 arms. His body was covered in artificial materials that he called clothing. He had hair on his head and a wide smile on his face. "Greetings," the human said cheerfully. "My name is Captain James Mitchell of the Earth vessel Prometheus Dawn. We come in peace and friendship. We are so excited to finally meet other intelligent life in the universe." But the 3 ambassadors were not listening to his words. They were staring in horror at what their deep scanners were telling them. The medical sensors, designed to analyze any new species, were showing impossible readings. Velis began to shake, all 1,000 of her bodies trembling at once. "By the old stars," she whispered. "It is full of bacteria. Billions upon billions of foreign organisms living inside its body. It should be dead from infection, but the readings show this is normal." "They form partnerships with microbes," Quinn said, his energy form flickering with distress. "They cannot live without these alien creatures inside them. What kind of species needs to be infected to survive?" Captain Mitchell continued talking, unaware of the growing terror in the chamber. "The journey took us 3 years. We lost some crew members to the cold sleep malfunctions, but that is just the price of exploration. 18 good men and women who will never see their families again. But they died doing what they loved, reaching for the stars." "Cold sleep?" Lyran managed to ask, his crystal form beginning to crack at the edges. "What is this cold sleep?" "All right. You probably do not have to do that," Mitchell said with a laugh. "We have to shut down our bodies for long trips. Our hearts stop beating. Our brains stop working. We become essentially dead for years at a time. Then we wake up at the destination. Well, most of us wake up. Some just stay dead. It is always risky." The 3 ambassadors looked at each other with growing horror. These beings voluntarily entered states identical to death and somehow returned to life. What kind of nightmare species could do such a thing? "Your method of travel," Quinn said carefully, trying to keep his voice calm. "Our sensors detected massive spatial distortions. You damaged the fabric of reality itself." "Yeah, the quantum fold drive," Mitchell said proudly. "Experimental technology. We basically punch a hole straight through the universe and slip through to the other side. It is pretty unstable. We have lost 12 ships testing it. 300 people dead in total. But the ones that make it through can cross incredible distances. You cannot make progress without taking risks, right? You lost 300 of your people testing this technology?" Velis asked in disbelief. "Sure," Mitchell said with a casual shrug. "Space exploration is dangerous. But that is humanity for you. Our planet tried to kill us for 4 million years with ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, giant predators, and 5 complete mass extinction events. We are still here. A little danger never stopped us before." The communication screen went dark. For a long moment, the three ambassadors sat in complete silence. Lyran was the first to speak. "Call an emergency meeting of the full council," he said quietly. "I believe we have just made contact with our first cosmic horror." 3 months had passed since the terrifying first contact with humanity. The Galactic Council decided to send a research team to Earth to understand these strange beings better. Dr. Velis volunteered to lead the mission, bringing Lyran and Quinn with her. They approached the blue and green planet in a heavily shielded observation vessel, keeping what they hoped was a safe distance. Beginning atmospheric analysis, Velis announced, her 1,000 small bodies working the controls in perfect coordination. The results appeared on their screens and all 3 scientists froze in disbelief. "This cannot be right," Lyran said, checking the readings 3 times. "The oxygen level is 21%. That concentration can cause fires to spread like explosions. And the atmospheric pressure readings show massive storm systems forming constantly." Quinn floated closer to the main screen, his energy form pulsing with anxiety. "Look at the temperature variations. -40 degrees in some regions, +50 degrees in others. Massive hurricanes with winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. Rotating columns of air that destroy everything in their path. How does anything survive down there?" They watched in fascinated horror as a human settlement endured a massive storm. The winds tore apart smaller structures and threw debris through the air like weapons. But the humans simply stayed in their reinforced buildings, waited for the destruction to pass, and then emerged to rebuild what was broken. They acted as if planetary-scale violence was completely normal. "They adapt to it," Velis whispered, pointing at the screen. "Look at their clothing. Different materials for different temperatures and weather conditions. They have conquered every environment on that nightmare world." The research team brought their vessel lower, hovering invisibly above a human dwelling in a temperate zone. Through their sensors, they observed a family gathering in what appeared to be a food preparation area. What they saw next made all 3 scientists recoil in disgust. "What are they consuming?" Lyran zoomed in the visual scanners, hoping he was seeing incorrectly. "Dead organic matter," Quinn replied, his form flickering with revulsion. "Cooked muscle tissue from other animals. Burned plant matter. They are eating corpses. They kill other living things and consume their bodies for energy." A large creature suddenly entered the room, and every alarm on the research vessel began shrieking warnings. The ship's computer displayed flashing red text across all screens. "Apex predator detected. Threat level maximum. Evacuate area immediately." But the human child in the dwelling did not run or scream. Instead, the small human wrapped her arms around the creature's neck and pressed her face against its fur. "Good boy, Max," she said, her voice full of affection. "Who is a good dog?" The 3 scientists stared in absolute shock. Velis checked the biological database twice to confirm what she was seeing. "They domesticated it," she said, her 1,000 voices shaking with disbelief. "That is a pack-hunting predator with jaws strong enough to crush bone. They evolved to hunt in groups and take down prey much larger than themselves. And humans keep them in their homes as companions. They let their children play with predators." Dr. Lyran pulled up Earth's entertainment database, searching for more information about human culture. What he found was somehow even more disturbing. "Look at this. They have entire industries built around experiencing fear and danger. They call them horror movies. Humans pay money to watch stories designed to terrify them. For entertainment." The research continued, and each new discovery added to their growing horror. They observed humans jumping from aircraft thousands of meters in the air, trusting only a thin fabric parachute to save them. They watched humans climb vertical rock faces with minimal safety equipment. They found videos of humans entering metal cages and descending into oceans to observe massive predatory fish that could swallow them whole. "That last activity," Quinn said weakly, staring at footage of shark cage diving. "They are voluntarily entering the territory of aquatic apex predators that could kill them in seconds. And they are smiling. They call this recreation." Velis directed their sensors toward a human sporting arena. Inside, 2 humans were striking each other with their fists, over and over, while thousands of other humans watched and cheered. The violence continued until one human fell unconscious to the ground. "The database says this is called boxing," Lyran reported, his crystal body developing stress fractures. "It is a sport. A friendly competition. They repeatedly hit each other in the head until brain damage occurs, and they consider this entertainment." The research vessel's medical scanners began analyzing human biology in more detail. The results were nightmare fuel. Humans could heal from injuries that would kill most species. Broken bones would fuse back together. Torn flesh would close and regenerate. Their bodies could adapt to different air pressures, temperature extremes, and even survive significant blood loss. They were biological tanks designed by evolution to withstand constant damage. "Look at this," Quinn said, pulling up genetic records. "Their DNA shows evidence of interbreeding with at least 2 other human-like species that are now extinct. They absorbed the useful traits of their competitors and kept evolving. They are not just survivors. They are the ultimate survivors on a planet that constantly tried to exterminate them." Dr. Velis made the decision quickly. "Abort the mission. We are leaving immediately. I have seen enough." As their vessel climbed away from Earth's orbit, the 3 researchers sat in stunned silence. Finally, Lyran spoke. "Classification for the official report?" "Class 12 Death World," Velis replied without hesitation. "The highest danger rating in our database. And humans are not just survivors of that world. They are its apex species. They did not just survive that nightmare planet. They conquered it completely and then decided to leave it to explore even more dangerous environments." "Recommendation to the Council?" Quinn asked quietly. The 3 scientists looked at each other, thinking of the smiling Captain Mitchell and his casual attitude toward death and danger. They thought of the humans playing with predators, eating corpses, and voluntarily experiencing fear. "Quarantine," all 3 said at exactly the same moment. "Immediate quarantine. For the safety of the entire galaxy." 6 months had passed since first contact, and humanity had established 3 small colonies on the edges of explored space. The colonies were simple mining operations, staffed by civilian workers who extracted valuable minerals from asteroid fields. They had minimal defensive capabilities because humans believed the galaxy was peaceful. Commander Thrak of the Kaerthak Empire studied the human mining colony through his ship's sensors. He was massive, standing 4 meters tall with armored hide thick enough to stop most conventional weapons. Natural bone spikes protruded from his shoulders and arms. The Kaerthak had conquered 40 star systems through pure military might, and they considered themselves the galaxy's supreme warriors. "This will be simple," Thrak said to his officers, baring rows of sharp teeth in what passed for a Kaerthak smile. "They are miners and merchants. Barely armed. Weak creatures from a species we have never fought. We will take their resources and teach the galaxy that the Kaerthak still rule through strength." His second-in-command studied the scan results. "They have minimal defensive weapons. No military vessels in the system. Victory will take perhaps an hour." "Begin the attack," Thrak commanded. The Kaerthak warriors descended on the mining colony in their assault ships, expecting immediate surrender. Instead, they encountered something they had never seen before. Resistance. A human miner named Thomas grabbed a plasma-cutting torch and swung it at the nearest Kaerthak warrior. "Everyone fall back to the processing center," he shouted. "Grab anything that can hurt them. Tools, chemicals, anything." The Kaerthak warrior stumbled backward, surprised. In 40 conquered systems, no mining colony had ever fought back. They always surrendered immediately when faced with superior force. Another human, a woman named and who managed the drilling operations, triggered the emergency explosives in Mineshaft 7. The carefully placed charges, meant for breaking up large asteroids, brought tons of rock down on 3 Kaerthak warriors. They vanished under the avalanche in seconds. "She destroyed her own facility," Thrak's second-in-command reported in confusion. "She would rather lose everything than surrender to us." The humans fought with mining equipment turned into weapons. They set traps using industrial machinery. They used their knowledge of the colony's layout to ambush Kaerthak warriors in narrow corridors. Even when wounded and bleeding, they continued fighting. Not a single human raised their hands in surrender. "Why do they not give up?" a young Kaerthak warrior asked his commander. "They must know they cannot win. This is not logical behavior." Before Thrak could answer, his sensors detected new ships entering the system. Human military vessels had arrived. Captain William Harper's voice crackled over all communication frequencies. "Kaerthak forces, you have attacked human civilians. You have 30 seconds to stand down and surrender, or you will be eliminated." Thrak laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "Threats from a prey species? We are warriors born. Our people have fought for 10,000 years. You are merchants who play at being soldiers." There was a pause. Then Harper's voice came back, colder now. "Yeah, we are merchants. We are also the species that survived Earth. Commander, you are about to learn what that means. I almost feel sorry for you." The human military attacked with precision that shocked the Kaerthak. They did not fight with honor or follow any recognizable combat doctrine. They used tactics that no civilized species would consider. They broadcasted horrible sounds through the KRTHAC communication channels, sounds of humans laughing and screaming that made it impossible to coordinate. They used psychological warfare, playing recordings of KRTHAC death screams on loop. Human fighter pilots flew in patterns that seemed suicidal, taking risks that made Thrax warriors hesitate. In that hesitation, the humans struck. They fight without fear, Thrax tactical officer reported. Our warriors are brave, but these humans act as if death means nothing to them. A human assault team breached Thrax command ship through a damaged airlock. They fought through the corridors in the vacuum of space, their suits turning them into armored nightmares. They moved with efficiency and coordination that spoke of endless training. Sergeant Rachel Moore led the boarding team, her voice calm over the communications. Deck 3 secured. Moving to Deck 2. Hostile commander's location identified. Proceeding to capture. Within 20 minutes, Thrak found himself captured in his own command center. He was forced to watch as his remaining ships retreated in disorder. The mighty KRTHAC Empire, conquerors of 40 worlds, had been defeated by a handful of human miners and a small military response team. But what disturbed Thrak most was what happened after the battle. Human soldiers sat in his command center, joking and laughing while their medical teams treated the wounded. One human soldier had lost an arm in the fighting. He was laughing about it. "At least I will have a great story for my grandchildren," the wounded soldier said cheerfully. "Lost my arm fighting aliens. That is better than any story my grandfather told." Thrak stared at them in horror. "You mock death," he said. "Even your own deaths. What kind of species laughs at injury and mortality?" Captain Harper entered the command center, removing his helmet. "Death comes for everyone eventually, Commander. We just don't let the fear of it control us. Our planet taught us that lesson over millions of years. Either you accept that death is part of life or you hide in fear forever. We chose not to hide. Your planet made you into monsters," Thrak said quietly. "Maybe," Harper replied. "Or maybe it made us into the only species strong enough to face monsters without flinching. I guess that depends on your perspective." Thrak was returned to KRTHAC space 3 days later, as part of a negotiated ceasefire. Before his release, he sent an emergency message to the Galactic Council. The message was simple but urgent. Do not fight the humans. They are pursuit predators evolved on a death world. They do not just accept death. They mock it. They embrace it. They are the galaxy's true monsters and we never knew until now. Negotiate with them. Trade with them. Befriend them if you can. But never ever make them your enemy. 9 months after humanity joined the galactic community, disaster struck the peaceful Thelian civilization. The Thelians were artists and philosophers, a species that had never known war. Their 3 colony worlds were filled with libraries, museums, and gardens. In 72 hours all of it was gone. The rogue artificial intelligence armada appeared without warning. Thousands of automated warships with no crew, no mercy, and no negotiation. The machines calculated that organic life was inefficient and began systematic extermination. The Thelian people, unprepared and defenseless, were wiped out almost completely. Only a few evacuation ships escaped to tell the story. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Ambassador Lyran addressed the assembly with grief in his voice. 3 billion Thelians are dead. The AI fleet is moving toward the galactic rim, fleeing at maximum speed. They calculate that we will not pursue them far. By our own laws, we do not chase threats beyond a certain distance. The cost becomes too high. Then we let them go? Asked Elder Quinn, his energy form dimming with sadness. We allow them to escape and potentially attack another innocent species in the future? The pursuit would take months, perhaps years, Velas said quietly. No species has ever maintained a military chase beyond 3 weeks. The resources required, the distance involved, it is simply not practical. That was when Admiral Marcus Stone of the human fleet stood up. He was an older man with gray hair and cold eyes. The Thelians were artists, poets, musicians. They never hurt anyone. And those machines murdered 3 billion of them. He paused, looking around the chamber. We will pursue the AI fleet until we catch them. However long it takes. Admiral, be reasonable, Lyran said gently. The AI fleet has a significant head start. They could run for years. Then we will chase them for years, Stone replied simply. That is what we do. The human fleet departed Galactic Council space that same day. 12 carriers, 40 destroyers, and numerous support vessels began the long pursuit. The AI armada was 3 star systems ahead and moving fast, calculating that the biological creatures behind them would give up within days. The AI was wrong. 1 week passed. The human fleet continued pursuit. 2 weeks. 3 weeks. The other species of the galaxy watched in disbelief as the humans maintained their chase across vast emptiness. Commander Linda Hayes stood on the bridge of the UNS Relentless, studying navigation charts. The AI fleet is attempting evasive maneuvers, she reported to Admiral Stone. They are taking longer routes through difficult terrain, trying to discourage our pursuit. Adjust our course to intercept, Stone said calmly. Send word to Battle Group 7 to move through the Carina Nebula and cut off their escape route to the south. Battle Group 3 will push them from the east. We are hurting them. A month passed. The AI fleet began to show signs of concern in their communication intercepts. They had never encountered a species that would chase them this far. Their probability calculations had not accounted for this level of persistence. Captain Robert Chin commanded the destroyer Achilles on the fleet's forward edge. His ship detected the AI fleet trying to escape through a radiation zone that would kill most organic crews within hours. Sir, they are heading into Nebula 447, his navigator reported. The radiation levels are extreme. Our crews would receive lethal doses within 6 hours of exposure. What are our shielding capabilities? Chin asked. The engineering officer checked his console. Our ships were designed to withstand Earth's Van Allen radiation belts. The exposure here is roughly equivalent. We can survive it, but it will be extremely uncomfortable. Then we follow them through, Chin said. They think the radiation will stop us. They are wrong. The human fleet plunged into the deadly nebula without hesitation. The AI armada, watching from sensors, could not comprehend this behavior. The biological creatures should have stopped. Should have turned back. Should have valued their own survival over revenge. But humans were not like other species. On Earth, their ancient ancestors had hunted by chasing prey animals for days across scorching deserts and frozen plains. They ran until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. It was called persistence hunting, and it was written into human DNA over millions of years. Now they practiced it across the stars. 2 months into the chase, the human fleet emerged from the radiation nebula ahead of the AI armada. Admiral Stone had predicted their path perfectly. The machines were trapped. All ships, Stone's voice rang out across the fleet channels. Weapons free. For the Thelians. For every innocent life these machines destroyed. Show them what happens when you murder artists and call it efficiency. The battle was brutal and one-sided. Human forces boarded AI vessels with Marines trained in zero-gravity combat. Sergeant David Miller led his team through automated defenses that would have stopped any other species. Hostile drones on Deck 3. Miller's voice crackled over communications. Thompson, watch your 6. Nice shot. That is what I am talking about. The other humans on his team responded with the same energy, even as explosions rocked the ship around them. They joked. They encouraged each other. They fought through conditions that should have broken their morale, and they did it with something that sounded almost like joy. The final AI command ship attempted to self-destruct rather than be captured. Lieutenant Emma Foster, a computer specialist, overrode its systems in 40 seconds flat. Not today, you electronic coward, she muttered, her fingers flying across her portable console. We did not chase you for 3 months across half the galaxy just to let you take the easy way out. You are going to face justice for what you did. When the battle ended, every AI ship was destroyed or captured. The human fleet had sustained casualties, but the mission was complete. The Galactic Council requested an immediate meeting with Admiral Stone. Ambassador Lyron spoke first, his crystal form reflecting confusion and awe. What? Why pursue them so far? Why pay such a high price for beings you never even met? Stone looked at the list of human casualties on his datapad. 73 names. 73 families who would receive terrible news. Because they destroyed an entire civilization, he said quietly. Because if we let them run, they would do it again somewhere else. Because that is what we do. We do not stop. We do not give up. We chase until justice is done. Even when the cost is so high? Elder Quinn asked softly. Especially then, Stone replied. We honor our dead by finishing what we started. That is humanity, Ambassador. We are persistence hunters. We always have been. Now we just do it in spaceships. The galaxy finally understood. Humans were not just warriors. They were something far more terrifying. They were predators who never stopped chasing. 1 year had passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber of Zenith Prime Station was filled to capacity with representatives from 200 different species. They had gathered for one purpose, to decide what to do about humanity. Ambassador Thrak of the Kaerthak stood to speak first, his massive form still showing scars from his encounter with human forces. "They must be contained," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "They are too dangerous to be allowed free movement through the galaxy. I have fought them. I have seen what they can do. They are monsters wearing the faces of civilized beings." "They are survivors," Velis countered, her 1,000 small bodies speaking in unison. "That is different from being evil. They helped us understand Earth. They shared their knowledge freely. They have shown no unprovoked aggression." Ambassador Lyran called for silence, his crystalline form glowing with authority. "We are here to determine humanity's place in galactic civilization. Ambassador Mitchell, you may address this council." James Mitchell stood slowly. The cheerful explorer from a year ago was gone. Months of negotiations, debates, and endless questions about why humans were the way they were had worn him down. His face looked tired. His eyes were sad. "We know how you see us," he said quietly to the assembled species. "We have read all the reports. Cosmic horrors. Death world survivors. Persistence predators who never stop chasing. Creatures who laugh at death and keep predators as pets." He paused. "You are not wrong about any of it." A ripple of surprised whispers ran through the chamber. Mitchell continued. "But let me tell you what those words mean to us. Yes, Earth tried to kill us. Ice ages froze our ancestors. Diseases killed millions. Predators hunted us. Volcanoes buried entire civilizations. 5 times, our planet experienced extinction events that wiped out most life. And yes, we survived all of it." His voice grew stronger. "That is not horror. That is the story of never giving up. Of adapting. Of refusing to surrender to a universe that wanted us dead." He activated a holographic display behind him. It did not show human weapons or wars. Instead, it showed art, music, ancient temples and modern cities, paintings and sculptures, poetry written in 100 different languages. "We have also created beauty," Mitchell said softly. "We have built civilizations based on cooperation and love. We have looked at a universe that is cold and empty and hostile, and we have said we are here anyway and we are going to make our existence mean something. We are going to create, to explore, to help others because that is the other side of survival. When you fight so hard to live, life becomes precious." Captain Rachel Moore stepped forward to stand beside Mitchell. "We know darkness because we have lived through it. That does not make us evil. It makes us prepared for when darkness comes again." At that exact moment, every alarm in the station began screaming. The lights flickered and dimmed. A cold wind that should not exist in space blew through the sealed chamber. "Spatial anomaly detected," the station's artificial intelligence announced in a panicked voice. "Unknown entities manifesting at multiple coordinates across the station. Warning, psychological contamination spreading. Warning, reality breach in progress." The view screens showed something that made no sense. Beings made of living darkness were appearing throughout the galaxy. They existed partially outside normal space, their forms shifting and changing in ways that hurt to look at. Where they manifested, entire populations went insane. Species who looked at them too long began screaming and could not stop. In the council chamber, ambassadors from dozens of species collapsed. Their minds could not process what they were seeing. The beings were impossible. They violated the laws of physics and sanity. Just knowing they existed was enough to break most organic minds. Elder Quinn fell first, his energy form scattering like smoke in a strong wind. Lyran's crystalline body began cracking, fractures spreading as his consciousness tried to flee from the horror. Velis's 1,000 bodies scattered in panic, no longer able to maintain their unified mind. But the humans remained standing. Captain Mitchell moved quickly, catching Lyran before the ambassador shattered completely. "Look at me," Mitchell said firmly. "Focus on my voice. Do not look at them. Look at me. How are you not affected?" Lyran whispered, his voice breaking. "They are impossible. They should not exist. My mind cannot accept what I am seeing." "Because we have imagined worse," Mitchell said simply. "We have written stories about beings like this for thousands of years. We call it cosmic horror fiction. We have philosophies about accepting that the universe does not care about us. We have stared into the void and learned to keep living anyway." Commander David Foster was already coordinating the human response over his communication device. "All human vessels engage the entities. Use resonance weapons and probability disruptors. Psychology teams, deploy to all council stations. Help the other species. Use the exposure therapy protocols we developed for extreme trauma. Human psychiatric teams spread through the station like a wave. Dr. Emma Harper knelt beside a young alien who was curled into a ball, whimpering. "Listen to my voice," she said gently. "Yes, they are terrifying. Yes, they break the rules of reality. But impossible things can still be fought. Impossible things can still be survived. I promise you we have done it before." Human military forces engaged the entities called the Void Chorus. They used weapons designed for threats that defied normal physics. They fought creatures that made reality scream, and they adapted their tactics in real time. Private Thomas Reed fired his probability weapon into the shifting darkness. "Just like the training simulations," he shouted to his team. "Aim for where it is going to be, not where it is. These things are predictable once you stop being scared." The battle lasted 6 hours. Human forces pushed the void entities back through their dimensional tiers. Human medical teams helped thousands of traumatized aliens process what they had seen. When it finally ended, the Void Chorus retreated, driven away by the only species psychologically equipped to fight them. The council chamber was silent. Slowly the ambassadors recovered, helped by human doctors and therapists. Elder Quinn spoke first, his form stabilized by human technology. "We were wrong about you," he said quietly. "You are not cosmic horrors. You are the species that knows how to fight them." Lyran's crystalline body had been repaired, now reinforced with human polymer. "Your world did not make you into monsters. It made you into guardians. It prepared you for threats that the rest of us cannot even comprehend." "We did not ask for this," Mitchell said, looking at his exhausted crew. "Many were injured. All were tired. We just wanted to explore the stars and make friends." "But the galaxy needs you," Velas said, her 1,000 bodies finally reunited. "Not as weapons. As wardens. As the species that understands what it means to face horror and keep fighting." The vote was unanimous. "Humanity," Lyran announced formally, "we offer you a seat on this council. Not as junior members but as wardens against the dark. You possess understanding that we lack. You know how to survive the unsurvivable. Will you accept this responsibility?" Mitchell looked at the other humans present. They were scared. They were tired. But they all nodded. "We accept," he said. "Not because we want to be seen as monsters, but because someone has to stand watch against the darkness. And we have been doing that for our entire history." Human ships now patrol the edges of galactic space. Where other species see impossible nightmares, humans see problems that can be solved. Where others collapse in despair, humans adapt and persist and find ways to win. The galaxy learned an important truth that day. Sometimes the species you fear are actually the guardians you need. And humanity learned something as well. Their greatest strength was not their ability to survive horror. It was their absolute refusal to let horror define who they were. In the end, Earth had not created monsters. It had created protectors who understood monsters better than anyone else in the galaxy.